Hey everyone and welcome. Today we're going to talk about something really cool. It's called MOTS-C, and it might just change how we think about our body's energy and even the aging process itself. We're going to break it all down nice and simple, so let's dive right in. Okay, get this. What if you could literally text your body's power plants? Send them a quick message that says, hey, ramp up energy production, and while you're at it, start some repairs. Sounds like science fiction, right? Well, that's kind of the revolutionary idea we're going to unpack today. So, to get what's going on, we got to start with the basics, and I mean the tiny engines inside every single one of your cells. You've probably learned about them in biology class, and believe me, they are absolutely central to, well, everything.
Yeah, we're talking about the mitochondria. Just think of them as these microscopic power plants. Their job is to take the food we eat, the fats, the sugars, and turn it into this special energy molecule called ATP. And ATP? That's the juice that runs the entire show. From blinking to thinking, it powers all of it.
And this is a tale of two power plants, right? On one side, you have the young, efficient ones. They're just humming along, cranking out tons of energy with very little waste. But then, as we get older, or maybe because of stress, they start to struggle. They become less efficient, make less energy, and create more of this cellular pollution, damage that can really add up. So, what can you do? What if those struggling power plants could send out like an SOS for help? Well, it turns out they can. And that's exactly where this thing called MOTS-C comes into the picture. This is where MOTS-C comes in, and you can think of it as that exact repair text message we were talking about. It's a signal that the mitochondria send out to the main headquarters of the cell, telling it, hey, we need backup down here. It's time to fix things up and maybe even build some new, stronger power plants. And we're not talking about a little tune-up here. The effect of this message is huge. Research is showing that this signal can potentially crank up a cell's energy production by as much as 40%. I mean, just imagine having 40% more energy on a cellular level. That's an absolute game changer.
All right, this all sounds amazing, right? But how do researchers actually send this text message in a controlled, scientific way? Let's walk through the basic steps of how it's typically done in a research setting.
Well, it all starts with the dose. The common starting point for research is almost always 5 milligrams. This is the baseline, the first message you send to see how the system responds.
And you might think it's a daily thing, but it's not. Research is usually conducted 3 times a week. Think Monday, Wednesday, Friday. This rhythm gives the cells a chance to actually receive the message, process it, and do something about it.
Even the time of day matters. Researchers usually administer this in the morning to kind of sync up with your body's natural energy clock. And if exercise is part of the research, it's typically given about 30 minutes beforehand. And the last piece of the puzzle, how does it get in there? The standard way is what's called a subcutaneous injection. Don't let the big word fool you. It's just a tiny shot into the fatty layer right under the skin, usually around the stomach.
Okay, so now we're getting into the bigger picture, because you can't just keep sending these messages forever. Let's look at the long-term schedule, where taking a break is just as important as sending the signal in the first place. And this is so important. You cannot stay on MTC forever. Why? Because if you keep shouting the same message over and over, your body's cells eventually kind of stop listening. They get desensitized. So you have to take breaks. That's called cycling, to let the whole system reset and become responsive again. Researchers also increase the dose really carefully. It's a process called titration. Basically, you start low and go slow. They'll start at that 5 milligrams, and then if the research calls for it, they'll work their way up to 10 milligrams, or maybe even 15. It's always a gradual climb. So here's what one of those schedules, called the loading method, looks like. For the first 4 weeks, you've got the loading phase at that standard 5 milligrams 3 times a week. Then, for the next 4 weeks, you go into a maintenance phase, dropping it to just once a week. And then, the most important part, weeks 9 through 12 are a complete off cycle. No dose at all. That's the reset button. So that was the loading method, which is pretty structured, right? But there's another, simpler way researchers might do it, called the reset method. It's way more straightforward. You're on for about 4 to 6 weeks, and then you're completely off for 2 to 4 weeks. 2 different approaches to achieve the same goal, giving the body time to reset its own signals. Okay, let's pause. Before we go any further, this is without a doubt the most critical part of this whole conversation. We have to talk about the safety rules. In any research, these are absolutely non-negotiable.
And let me be crystal clear here. Any research with MOTS-C should never, and I mean never, involve anyone who is pregnant, breastfeeding, or even trying to become pregnant. Same goes for anyone with an active infection. Safety is everything. Full stop. A couple of other things researchers look out for. Sometimes people feel a bit tired for the first week or two, and that might sound bad, but it can actually be a good sign. It can mean your body is using a ton of energy to do deep-level repairs. Also, doing lab work before starting to check things like folate and homocysteine levels is standard procedure.
And of course, I have to say this, and it's incredibly important. All of this information is for educational and research purposes only. This is absolutely not medical advice and should never be taken as such.
So we'll end on this thought. We've learned that our cells are constantly talking, sending these little text messages all the time about what they need. MOTS-C is just one of those incredible signals. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Our cells are sending signals. Are we finally learning how to listen?